Hi, we're going to be starting to talk about relational context. We had a chance to talk about interpersonal communication before, and now we're going to specifically talk about the theories dealing with relationships a little more generally. But we're talking about um, voluntary relationships. And one of the first things we're going to talk about is similarity. Then we're going to talk about predicted outcome values and relational stages. And it's just the first part for this short video. Later on, we'll be talking about more detailed uh, we'll talk about other topics in other videos. Hang on. So, first one is the Burns reinforcement theory, the idea of similarity and attraction. We're talking about voluntary relationships, and the principle of reinforcement is the idea that we are reinforced by certain things. Our behavior causes some consequences, and those things have reinforcement, either positive or negative. And we're looking for similarity of attitudes and other ideas. His general concept is rather obvious. We like and are attracted to those who reward us. That's a positive reinforcement. And we dislike and we tend to go away from or repel those who punish us or give us some sort of negative reinforcement. Now, along with this, we see similar individuals communicating with those that are similar to us, which makes a lot of sense because we seem just generally more comfortable with those that are like us. People who are different, we're not sure what to expect. And in the similarity idea, we're looking at 4 different dimensions. These 4 dimensions include attitudes, the attitudes that we have, the values of things we like or don't like in that sense, our background, how we've grown up, socioeconomic status, where we lived, Midwest, coast, big city, country, whatever it might be, as well as appearance, the general appearance we have. And that's not extremely specific. The appearance could be something like how they're dressed, if they have the same body type, if they're looking healthy or not healthy, similar to us or not, if they have tattoos or not. So there's a lot of different things that go into appearance similarities for us there. Predicted outcome values theory is the idea that there are certain ways we try to reduce uncertainty. And as we're talking to people that are somewhat similar to us, or maybe not too similar, we're trying to find out if they're similar to us. It's the idea, do we want to continue to have this relationship? So we attempt to ensure future interactions that will be positive, part of the reinforcement, things that we like, reward us, instead of the negative parts. And then we try to guess or predict if that's going to be a positive outcome in this or not. Communication is guided towards the topics that we expect would generate the positive results. We try to avoid those things that don't give us positive results. Now, the incentive values you see on the slide here is the idea there's anticipated rewards and costs. So you get to a kind of economic model here. So think of rewards and cost, put this in an economic type of model, and we see that we are motivated by relationship awards, repelled by the costs, or in other words, rewards are positive, costs are negative, and we take our rewards minus the costs, and that gives us our prediction of what type of outcome it would be. So if we're wondering if we should continue in this relationship, then we say, well, how much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to put into it? How much is going to be negative in that sense versus how much am I going to get out of it? How much will be positive or worthwhile to me? And then we predict that. Now, the positive and negative predictions, if it's negative, we're not going to stay in the relationship. If it's positive, we're going to continue to pursue this relationship. But the idea is, it's not up to me entirely. If the other person sees more of a negative or a cost to this relationship than I do, they're going to try to end the relationship. And it'll be up to them more than up to me. There's only so much I can do to change their mind or try to get them to see that this is more positive as opposed to a negative. So we try to get the idea that as we try to learn about the relationship, what's going to be coming out of this person, we say, is it going to be worth it to me? I'm going to put more into it, or is it going to be more than it's worth? And this is what we put into this theory, the cost and rewards. Now, another aspect that's not a theory is the interaction stages model. It's not the type of thing where we're talking about what we're going to put into it or how we're going to get out of it. It's just simply a descriptive type of thing, and it was written primarily in light of romantic relationships, and they change over time. We know we get closer and more intimate as it continues to develop, or not. Now, there's rewards and cost, so if it's more rewards, we're going to continue. If it's cost, we tend to back out of it. And there's some, in this model, sequential and systematic things, but people may move fast and skip over to steps, and you don't have to go all the way up to the entire model before you start deteriorating. So the way it goes through is different from each person, but it's a way to describe what is happening, what type of communication is going on in those particular models or in those particular stages. And you can think of it as a staircase as we continue to build into a relationship or leave a relationship. So let's take the 10 stages. Let's look at the first part, the coming together stages. There are 5 coming together stages. First is initiation, when we start to meet somebody, our first interactions. And then we experiment, what they call the experimenting stage, where we try to find out similarities. That would be similar to the uncertainty reduction aspects of it. Intensifying stage means we try to see more and more similarities in morals and values. First part of the experimenting, just what do you like, what don't you like? You like these movies, where are you from, what do we have in common? And then we get to more intimate aspects. An intensifying stage, we're looking at morals and values. Integrating stage is where, yes, we see something worthwhile in its relationship and more positive than negative. We see more similarities in these deeper morals and values that we have. So then we start thinking about how we can work together. In other words, what I'm going to do after college, no, it's what we are going to do after college. What am I going to do next week? Topic career, where would I live? No, it's where are we going to live? So the future plans and more of a commitment to each other instead of an individual. So that's a more integrating stage of the relationship. And at the very top level of the coming together stages is the bonding or emotional link. The strong emotional link, the bonding in traditional terms, is getting married. Nowadays it may not be getting married, maybe moving in together or having children, something like that. Very strong emotional links. Those are the 5 stages if you continue to develop in your relationship. However, at any one of these stages you can say, no, it's not worth it for me, and go into what would be the coming apart stages. And there are 5 different coming apart stages. Differentiation is where you start discussing or talking about how you're different from the other person. We're not quite alike. We have these different likes and dislikes. Circumscribing stage is when you circumscribe, you are going around something. So in the circumscribing stage, you're avoiding conflict. You know you don't agree on these topics, so you just don't talk about them. So you look at the other mundane topics instead of talking about those more intense things that you know you disagree on. Stagnation stage, you're just getting bored with the relationship. Since you're not coming together, you're not seeing more integration, you're not seeing more similar values, and you've avoided the things that you disagree with, it just gets boring. Stagnation. Then further coming apart is avoiding. You avoid communication, you avoid them. And it's hard to have a relationship when you're not talking to each other. And then the termination stage is the end of the relationship. Now again, these are not always sequential. You may go up to a couple stages in the coming together and then skip over to avoiding and terminating, or start in the differentiation right after the first 2 and move quickly through these others. So you don't always have to touch on every single stage. Excuse me. But you are going to get through these in the order to describe. If you're talking this way, if you're communicating in this way, then you are in one of these stages, so you can tell descriptively where your relationship is by the type of communication you are. So as you see at the bottom of this slide, ascending, coming together, descending is coming apart, and sometimes you sort of hover on one of those stages, whether it's coming together or apart, you sort of hover and try to stabilize that step, and you may go up and back a little, then go up a little more. You've been in relationships, you know how they go. But consider the way of communication. What type of communication is going on? You can pretty much label what type of stage you're in. This relational stage is a model. It's not a theory, it's a model, but some research has been done to show that this is supported. Those are our relational contexts.